Somebody asked me in Pfizer, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a managing director. So he looked at me and the lady in HR said, yeah, when do you want? I said, maybe after 20 years.
Welcome back to Eminence Unfiltered Part 7. Today we have Dr. Sanjit Singh Lamba with us, who doesn't need any introduction. He has 33 years of profound experience in pharma industry with strength in leading large teams across the globe, planning, executing and spearheading all the functions right from the research manufacturing of APIs and formulations with P&L responsibility has always been motivating the aspiring leaders. He pursued M.Pharm PhD from Punjab University, Chandigarh, and after serving leadership roles at MST, Pfizer, Ranbaxy, Dabur, Gland Pharma, Lupin, and Pharma, he is now associated with BioCurious Pharma at Chandigarh. Let's know more about his life and his journey of becoming a successful leader. Good morning, Dr. Lamba.
Hi, good morning. Vineet, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. And we all know you professionally, Dr. Lamba, but our viewers and our listeners, they're very interested to know about your personal life as well. Your aspirations, your hobbies. Can you tell us more about who is Sanjit Singh Lamba behind the professionalism?
Okay, that's very interesting. So I think behind the scenes, Sanjit is more of, you can say, not a professional artist, but at a core, he's an artist.
Okay.
Artist who loves art in any form, is very fond of music, a very soft-hearted person, looks to be a very nutty character from outside. You know, it's very tough, rigid, but then inside is very soft. Over the years, actually, right from the childhood, I had interest in music and had interest in those areas, which is like, for example, technology, gadgets, right from a childhood, where it was just evolving. But still, I was very fond of these areas. Art in any form, whether it is just a painting or colors, good food. That's something which is inspires me. Colors inspire me a lot. So sometimes just change in colors changes my mood drastically.
Yes.
So I've seen that working on me. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Okay. So this artistic nature, is it right to assume that you are a collector also?
Yeah. So there are a few things I am very fond of. For example, and this interest is from the childhood. But I would say those areas, and when I was growing up and I was in university and I started my career, I didn't have money. So I had interest, but no money to invest on those areas. So I kept those. I would keep on writing my wish list. And that list kept on growing. And I think over the years, whether it was watches or perfumes or gems, you can say, I'm very fond of cars. So 2001, very late, just 20 years back, that was the time when I would say that I would start ticking on that list. And 2001 was the first time.
How did it feel then?
Amazing. I was like, they were very small things that time.
Yes.
For example, I tell you, one of the very compact, the smallest Walkman in the world that time, I wanted to buy that. 3 times more expensive than the normal ones, but that was Paris in 2001 when I bought that. And I think that is the beginning. My first Swiss watch I bought in 2001, again in France. I slowly kept on growing. But I'm happy that I kept it alive, all those, my likings. But I waited for the right moment, I would say, to do what I wanted to do.
I can completely relate to it. I remember when I used to read a lot of books as a child.
Okay.
And every single book, and I was a big fan, I'm still a big fan of Jeffrey Archer. And every book that you read about Jeffrey Archer, when he is describing a business person, he was always telling about that this person, then she picked up her Montblanc pen.
Okay.
And she did this. And since childhood, I had a fascination that I want to buy this on my own. I don't want this as a gift from parents or husband or anything, but I want to buy, and I don't want to buy by suffering. I want to make sure that I have enough money to
Yes.
buy it, so I don't have to suffer also after buying a good expensive pen. So I totally relate to it, and the joy of
Yes.
ticking it off your
Yeah.
list that you finally did it.
I have the same thing, so probably I think I can relate to you. Again, those areas, probably 2002 was the first time, and I bordered my first Montblanc, and then that I kept on growing over the years. Yesterday in the evening, I was still searching for something, so that itch is still alive.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, tell me about the part of singing. I know personally as well that you are a very good singer. Did you learn it or you develop over the period of time, or you were always fond of singing?
I think it was a childhood. I was very fond of singing, and I think my first song was Rafi's song. When I sang it, when my brother was born in a hospital, and he's 3 years younger to me. I was 3 years that time. The first song when I sang was when I was 3 years. And this is a very famous old song, Firki Wali To Kal Firana, Rafi's song. And I think that's how I started. Over the years, I had planned that, I would like to become a singer. And I wanted to learn that. And I think that moment came in 1990. When I moved to Mumbai. And I moved to Mumbai with this intention that I will become a disciple of late Jagjit Singh Sahib. And so what I did is there was in Cooperage Ground in Bombay, there was a program. This is 1990 when Gulzar Sahib, Jagjit Singh, Pandit, Ravi Shankar, Birju Maharaj, many other singers and even instrument players, they participated in one program. And then that was the time I met Jagjit Singh Ji through Gulzar Sahib. And I wanted to become his disciple. So after persuasion, I finally became. And then started visiting his home. And that's how I, started interacting with him. Unfortunately, that was a time when there was an accident in the family, in Jagjit Singh's family. And then his son expired because of an accident. And that was the time actually the whole family was shattered. That was a time when I was advised by people, including Gulzar Sahib, that, you've come as a professional to Bombay. Keep that profession alive and keep this as a hobby, because this is something you should take a call and it can go in any direction. You may be a very good singer, but you may not get the right break. Or you may be a okay singer, you may get the right break and you can be at some place quite early. So it's a luck. I didn't want to play on my luck. So I wanted, if I work something, I must get it. There's nothing ifs and buts in that. So I didn't like that idea. And I saw some of my friends in Chandigarh, very famous Punjabi singer. He was a great singer, but he couldn't actually reach the charts. And then he was not very successful. Probably taking cue from him, I thought, it's better to keep this as a hobby and keeping a sidekick rather than, making it a main profession.
That's unbelievable. You already have a fan. Yes, I am there, but a very big fan that in my family is my mother. Okay. You guys are friends on Facebook.
Yes.
All right. So she keeps on saying that, okay, Dr. Lamba, this one person who walked up to your conferences, and he's very divine. His voice is so she's a very big fan of your singing. So I must tell you that in case if you would have pursued this profession as well, you would have really... It does wonders.
It's something which actually over the years gave me a lot of relaxation, because Bombay was it was stressful for me in the beginning when you are really working very hard to get into some form or the place you want to reach. So, but music kept me relaxed over the years.
Yes, I understand. Now, a little about your professional life, where I wanted to understand. That means, you have never hesitated to share your knowledge. I've always seen you being very helpful. It's my own personal experience as well. I remember when we started the company and I spoke up to you, and you just knew that, okay, these kids are starting something, so I must help. So that time you were managing director of Pharma. So I never forget that experience and your guidance. And I see that in general as well, not only at the conferences, but on your LinkedIn posts as well, you try to put something informational, just going to help people groom them in their career or teach them about the leadership skills. And sometimes it's very technical post as well, where people are able to understand and get a clarity of thought on the technical lines. I want you to understand that means, is there any particular, I know you can speak on any subject, but is there any particular subject which is your favorite when it comes to the trainings?
Yeah, you're right, actually. I generally believe in sharing, my learnings. And, when I started, I used to say that this is like a distilled information, which I'm giving to youngsters so that, sometimes they shouldn't commit those same mistakes which I did. And that really softens and smoothens their own track. So I love doing that today even, and I love sharing that, my own experiences. And sometimes that also includes giving some kind of cues to people who have just entered the industry, so that, that becomes a kind of a learning, kind of a learning pod for them. So that's what I try to do. I share that. There's one area which, of course, apart from management skills, from the technical side, I've been always fascinated by the world of sterile products.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So aseptic processing, that's one area which I've been, a follower of, and that's something which is close to my heart. I spent around 20-25 years, especially focusing on that area in the beginning. And I would say that, there was some time in between, I moved around in many areas, but then that's one area again I'm restarting. And I will start again sharing some information and practices on that particular area. Yesterday there was some informal session, so I started that. Maybe next month again in one of those weekends, I'm having a podcast and sharing that information on the new contamination control strategies for sterile products, so that it can help the companies and particular in people to develop their own plan, because that's where regulatory is interested. How do you have a culture of compliance? How do you instill that culture of compliance in people so that, you're not forcing them to do them, comes from within. When something comes from within, you don't have to really, struggle. It automatically comes, and that's what it should become a part of your fabric.
Absolutely.
As a company. So that's what I'm going to try. The journey is on. It takes a long time, and I believe that the path is something which is I would like to pursue more and more.
I can relate to this because, conference, as a conference and training provider company, we have come across this topic several times. And this has been a pain area. And at this point of time, it's getting more challenging with the evolving guidelines. So I can completely relate to it. And I guess it's going to be helpful for a lot of people.
Yes.
So everyone who is looking to understand more about the contamination strategy and sterile, you can just go to Dr. Lamba's LinkedIn as well. And I know that if you approach him, he is certainly going to help you out in that area as well. And Dr. Lamba, when you are training, means, you are one of those people that training comes very easy to you. That there are some people who know things, their knowledge is really good, in depth, but when it comes to training somebody else, passing on that knowledge, that becomes a little challenging for some people. Is there any piece of advice that you would like to give to people who are looking to develop themselves as a trainer?
I think something which helps people is their own experiences.
Right.
So I think without packaging it in any form, I would suggest and encourage people to share their experiences, what they have seen actually or worked with their own hands, because something that knowledge always stays with you. You don't have to read it. So I don't have to, I have to update myself only. What's new? What is the new thing which is coming up? What are the changes which are there? But something which you have done with your hands, even if you are awaken at night, midnight, you will remember that that's there. You should be careful about that particular area. These are the precautions you should take if you want to be, because ultimately, end of the day, I always believe when you are in the pharmaceutical industry, you should be passionate about patients.
Yes.
So when you are passionate about something, it comes naturally to you. And I always say that, that's only one thing which you have You don't have to remember many things. You have to just remember one thing, that the patient can be you and your family. So if you're doing something, do the right thing. But only thing, you should know what is the right thing.
All right.
So doing the right thing and knowing that what is the right thing are two important areas. So that once you do that, you will always be on the right track.
So can I summarize by saying that being authentic, being honest
Yes.
are the key? And the more you have to think about what to say, what not to say, what to conceal, that will make you...
Sometimes it makes you nervous.
Yes, yes.
But I think naturally you should talk about what are your experiences and be passionate about whatever thing you're doing and whichever area. You cannot be master of everything.
Right.
Focus on few areas where you can really learn and master it, and stick to those areas, and then combine your own experiences with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you tell us about your journey? That means how you ended up working for the pharma industry.
So as I said, probably after my 10+2, I got admission at BHU in MBBS. So that was very tough. I had to struggle a lot. Many exams. Finally, I got in. The most difficult were AIMS and BHU. Finally, I got in BHU, Banaras University. I started as a student in MBBS first year, and this is 84. Okay. 1984, this is where the riot started in October.
Yes.
So I had no choice but to run away from there, because the riots had spread to many areas. The people were being killed. I could see people being killed.
Terrible times.
That was a very terrible time. So I ran out of that place and reached Chandigarh, and then that was also very difficult. It's a long story. But finally, when I reached, somebody told me there's a pharmaceutical department here in Chandigarh itself. Okay. You have your objective to be in healthcare or medicine. This is something related. Mm-hmm. So why don't you take admission? I said, no, I have already taken admission. I'll go back. This is something which is a temporary phase. I've come back. I'll go back. Okay. Still he said, why don't you see that? Mm-hmm. So I went to university. I got admission. And that time used to be only 20 seats in Punjab University for Pharma. Okay. And I got admission, and during my first few classes, my maths teacher would say that, I'm not very attentive in maths. I said, yes, I'm not. That's the reason I selected medicine. Right. So I didn't know that you have a maths again here. So
you do?
Yeah, in Pharma again, there's a maths in first year. So I said, I just hate that. I am telling you that I've taken an admission. I've given my medical leave application there. Once things settle, I'll go back. So he says, okay, try to focus as much as you can. So it was a destiny. Finally, my parents suggested not to go back, and I stayed with Pharma. When I stayed with Pharma, I wanted to start with something which is most difficult, and something which inspires me to reach a place which I always wanted to. So somebody said, why don't you start your career from Bombay? So I got some opening in Delhi, big company, but then I decided, no, I'll start from Bombay, because probably they are the experienced people, they know the right thing. So it was difficult. I came to Bombay, and that was very difficult for me because there's no job. And they said, when you have come, this is not the right time. October, November is not the right time for a job opening. It will come in May, June, so wait for some time. Okay. So actually, practically, I have knocked at the door of probably every pharmaceutical company. Personally, going physically, they never used to be emails and those for mobile hardly, we didn't have that. In 1995 only, I think I started my first email, Hotmail, when it just came, and I became a member, and then I started. This is 1990, and I am there, and I'm walking finally after a lot of struggle. This was GSK Bombay, Worli, and later on MSD. And MSD was the number one company in the world that time. So I always wanted to join MSD. So I was like, if I get a chance, I will join that. Okay. My father just said one to me that, when he was an executive engineer in electricity board in Chandigarh, he saw Pfizer. Okay. And he was very impressed with the culture there and people. And he said, is it possible for you to join Pfizer? Right. I think probably I'll keep it in mind. Okay. So I kept it. I applied there. Finally, my first job was MSD, 365 days. After exactly 360 days, I got a call from Pfizer after 1 year saying that you have to appear for interview. So this was a very tough kind of a call. 200 people, 6 interviews, 6 months. And after 6 months, I got a opening into that. Finally, 2 people were selected in 200. And I always give this example because nowadays you don't see this kind of a criteria of filtration.
Yes.
So initial opening was actually very tough. I really struggled a lot to get my first opening. But I think the first opening was the only opening I had to struggle. After that, it just kept on moving. And somebody asked me in Pfizer, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a managing director. She looked at me and the lady in HR said, yeah, when do you want? I said, maybe after 20 years. So it's a realistic time frame. I don't want early. I don't want too late. 20 years is good enough time. And I kept it.
So inspiring.
So I
what
think...
was their response when you said it?
They said, yeah, it is difficult. But since you've kept a goal, and I think you will achieve it.
Are you in touch with her?
Yeah. So she's at Gurgaon, and she's a consultant now. And even with my first boss at Pfizer in Thane, I used to stay in Vashi that time.
Okay.
And so this is the time in, I think, 2007,
Right.
90, and so after maybe 25 years.
Right.
So I became a managing director of a big pharmaceutical Japanese company.
Okay.
And before that also, so whatever, I had drawn a graph, I want to be at this place for so and so time, then I should get into this role. And my thing was that I should get as much as experience as possible. Normally people stick to one and they keep on rising vertically on that role. Right. I wanted to spread that because unless I spread, I cannot be at the top because otherwise, you have experience only this area. And that's what happens in industry. So probably spreading yourself and increasing your horizon was most important to really reach at the top. And you should know what goes on behind the scenes in other areas. So that's what actually, and I took a lot of risks in that, but I think those risks paid off.
Right. So this is one thing common in all the leaders. That when they are trying to say, that means we were not growing into one step of role. We were trying to learn everything and we were trying to grow in all the roles. And that's where it was, they earned that position. Thank you very much. And this is very positive. And I think means I will make sure that all my team also watches this because at the end of the day, one person in one department, you don't know the other roles. How will you step into a leading role?
Exactly. So, that's something people generally don't do because they always believe that they will spread themselves thin, right, and then they will not become a specialist of one. I don't believe that because you keep on sticking to your basics and become a specialist of a couple of areas, but then you need to have. So I think something which really helped me, and I'm one of those few people who had experience in both technical side and the business side, sales, marketing, clinical and other areas, which people don't get experience in the technical field. So probably I think after 2013 to 2020, 7 years, then I was more into, even 20 or till 21, I was more into sales, marketing, business side, business development. And so once you have a P&L responsibility, you get a holistic approach in managing the business. So I think people must get into that at some point of a time that gives them a real experience. You have to lose a lot to gain a lot, but that's what the equation is. And that equation should keep you alive.
Right. Rather than getting comfortable in one role.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I totally agree.
Correct.
And Dr. Lamba, I want to really know, that means it's not only us, that our viewers and listeners as well, they want to know what is that key leadership advice you would like to give our future aspiring leaders who are stepping into the role?
Okay, I think that's very interesting. First of all, I think as a leader, you should be passionate about doing whatever you're doing. So choose an area which you love doing. So that would keep you alive, that would keep you interested, that would keep you inspired to do whatever you're doing. And don't look at what people are talking about or people are saying, go into this field. Choose your own field. And there's nothing small, there's nothing big. It all depends upon what you like and what you want to become.
Right.
That is one. Second thing which really helped me is, I think, keep yourself away from negativities. there are people who would suggest you, don't do this, don't do that, somebody who did this couldn't go there and couldn't get experience and all. It's up to their level.
Right.
Think from your side. I generally do. I cut off myself from negativities. I put my turban also helps a lot, but also within that I have some more barriers. I put up those barriers and say, somebody saying negative, keep it yourself. I don't listen to them. So I keep my own path. Somebody says you can't reach there, that I make sure that I'll reach there. So third thing is when people challenge, you tend to overcome those challenges. I did that. Somebody said, and that's happened in the school. Somebody challenged me that, you can't be number one. Then 2 years down, I was most of the time a number one in a particular subject or a group of subjects. So I think challenges, how to overcome the challenges, it helped me.
Right.
As a leader, I think you must communicate well with your team. You should really take care of your team. You become more of a process person. And when a problem strikes, there are crises. Use crisis as an opportunity. So crisis is one area which helps you to overcome. Bad times come, but bad times go. Right. But people think that bad times are going to stay and then, they are like finished and all. Nothing like that. It doesn't happen that way. Right. You use crisis as a stepping stone to overcome those and get into the success. And that's what crisis came to me, at least big crisis came to me 3 times in my career. But again, the same thing that I don't listen to negativities. People say anything, but then I found my way out and overcome those challenges. So that's another area. You should be a people person. People should love coming, talking, discussing things with you. And they should find some solution when they're discussing with you, because that's the only time when people would love to talk to you because they get something out of it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody wants something out of a discussion or whatever. We are doing something for benefit of others today. People may get some inspiring thoughts behind it. So you as a leader should inspire people in some form or other. And I think the last one is you keep yourself updated in your field regularly.
Right.
I remember I used to spend in my first 20 years of career, 2 hours to update myself what's going on. Okay. 2 hours every day in the beginning, and maybe later on 3-4 hours every week to look at where the world is going, where you want to go. Are you aware what is happening? So when somebody asks you something, are you in a position to respond? So that keeps you updated. As a leader, you should always keep things on your fingertips, because I think people are looking at you because they respect you as a leader, because the leader knows more than
you. Yes.
And they look at you to look up to you also to give them some solutions when they really need it.
Right.
And also, as a leader, you should not look at a blame game.
Right.
It's very important to know that there may be problems, but who has done it is not important. But as a process, what you could have done to safeguard yourself and the company as a process, because that's most important. That's something which is going to stay and sustainable for long. Right. Not the person. Persons may come, may go, but as a system, what will remain with that company is that system-oriented approach. So these are the few areas as a leader you must take care. It's not a rocket science. There are a few basic things, and the few basic things you keep always in your front. I think that keeps you going.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So if I have to summarize it, so be passionate about what you're doing and avoid negativity completely.
Yeah.
And third is that you are using the constructive criticism for motivating yourself. Then fourth, you listen to your team. And fifth pointer that means we have for all the aspiring leaders is that they need to make sure that they're people's person. And then we have a pointer about that means to stay updated, because they will be looking after you for an information, and then you need to have that information ready on the go as well.
Right.
And the last, which is very important pointer, is rather than playing the blame game, to understand that means, what is their perspective and what went wrong, and then try to get a solution out of it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And the last, I would say again the same thing which I said earlier. Even if it is difficult,
Right.
do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
It is difficult. Many times it's the most difficult thing to do, but do the right thing. And when things don't happen your way, always look at what is the best way to move forward. What are the possibilities? And look at many options before you say. People generally have a decision, yes, no. Sometimes that doesn't work. You need to look at options. You need to have a backup options. When things don't work, keep your plan B and a plan C always ready. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Lamba. So the last question that I have for you before we let you go is, now our viewers are not only from pharma. They're not only pharma professionals, but they're from academics and universities and colleges as well. So what is the advice that you would like to give these people who are looking for their career in pharma?
Yeah, so I go back now in 1989 when I finished my post-graduation in pharma. I did my MPharm. And so I was at the crossroads. And I had options to do what I want to do, what I'm passionate about. Second thing is what the industry needs, right? And this is a difficult question. What you need and what industry need. But generally when you are a student, when you're coming out, you're not very clear what you need.
Yes.
It is just a very confusing kind of a picture what you need. For example, I wanted to be in medicine, but that's fine, that path I crossed, I reached, but I decided to go to another area. But similarly in MPharm, after that, I had more inclination, for example, to pharmacology. I wanted to do specialization in pharmacology. But as a person, if I look at, I am more into where the action is. Okay? Pharmacology is more research.
Right.
Operations is where the action is.
Right.
So it was difficult for me. What do I need? What I want? And then I asked, I was interacting with someone and said, look at what you actually are good at.
Right.
You don't know. You are good at research, but at present, what you are good at?
Right.
I'm good at talking to people. I want to work with people.
Right.
So one thing was I don't want to be in research. That's something, clarity which came out. And I think it's very important for students or till they are in academic institutions to have that clarity, what they need. What, as a person, people may talk, people may say, you should do this, but what are they good at? That's very important. So I was good at operations, so I wanted to do. So somebody said, look at what you want, what are you good at, and what market needs. So market needs, if market need and you can be matched, that's the best option. So then I said, okay, I will go into operation. I want to go into manufacturing area. So many times there is a mismatch. I have seen people, they come, they have attitude of a research mindset,
Right.
but they are into operations. There's a mismatch and they are not successful.
Right.
Similarly, you see people who are into other area, operations, but they have a mindset of a research.
Right.
So I think if somebody wants to make this change, even if they go into one field, they should try to switch over within a year. So if they don't like it, don't delay too much.
Yes.
And should make a decision about what they actually...
Wasting company's time and your time.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you're not going to be the right
Exactly.
fit.
So they should actually take that call. So I think clarity of the thought is important for when you are a student.
Absolutely.
And you're coming out and you want to look at. So do that internal survey of what you need and what you are good at.
Right.
So I've seen people who are good in sales and marketing,
Yes.
but somebody is pushing them towards quality or operations.
Yes.
My own nephew, I wanted to push him over to, for example, some other area. He said, I'm good in sales. I want to be in sales. So I left it to him. Okay, you do whatever you want to do it. And I think that's where people, parents, family, friends should support. Need to understand that, it is their job. They have to do it. Don't push things on them. That is one. And another thing is that they should plan their career over a period of time. And somebody says, what do you want to do after 5 years? They should know. What to do after 10 years or 20 years? Where you want to reach? People have different opinions. They look at clouds and see, where I want to do that. So they should do that introspection sometime And it may work out that way, it may not work out that way. But mostly I've seen, if you have planned it rightly, it works out that way. So it's your own thoughts, your own thinking, what you want to become or want to do, it generally happens. So, and I've believed that over the years that whenever I said I want to get into this or I want to get it, probably I work more for that and I get it.
Yes.
So then you can say that it is not something which is superstitious. Actually, you work towards it, you work towards your goal, and that's the reason you get it.
Yes.
So I think if you don't know where you are getting, if you don't plan,
You'll
then
never
you
know
will
what
be
you're
lost.
aiming for.
Then what are you aiming for? So I think that's where sometimes it happens with people.
Yeah.
They are lost in that crowd.
Right.
So they should see that how do I keep my niche separate and be in my position, what I want to do, and then what others think is none of my business.
Yes.
So that's, I think, it's very important. And the third thing is that for people to be successful, there are a few basics when they're coming out of academia into industry. Industry needs people who can communicate well, who follow time management, who are disciplined, and who are go-getters.
Right.
So if a task is there, they should be task-oriented. And I think with these things and a clarity of thought, and I said earlier that they must keep themselves updated about what field they are in, there is a very high probability that they will reach wherever they wanted to reach.
Okay.
So it's again simple if they follow it and practice it regularly.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Lamba, for this experience that you have shared about your life and also the advice that you have given to our aspiring leaders and the academics. Thank you very much. And we were with Dr. Sanjit Singh Lamba today. And just to let you know that if you are fond of singing and you want to hear him sing, you can follow him on Facebook. If you meet him in person, don't forget that you should ask him to sing for you.
Thank you very much, Guneet. And thanks to you and your team to have invited me here. It's really a pleasure to talk to you and share my experiences. And I'm back to those times in 1989 when I started my career. I've relived the whole thing, and I'm happy that I could share that experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Welcome.
Dr. Lamba.
Thank you.